The Asheville Museum of Science's Summer of Science series is sponsored by Thermo Fisher Scientific, Hedrick Industries, Baker Grading and Landscaping, and Gillespie Dental Associates. To support Amos and help us provide quality STEM education to online science explorers across Western North Carolina, please visit us at ashevillescience.org/support-us. Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody back to Asheville Museum of Science's Summer of Science series. All summer long, we will be finding experts and local science partners to help us serve our mission of providing quality STEM education throughout Western North Carolina. Today with me, I have Thom Green. He is the Associate Outreach Coordinator. Is that correct, Thom?
Outreach Associate.
Outreach Associate, thank you, with the Western North Carolina Hemlock Restoration Initiative. And so, Thom, I'm really excited to have you here today. Can you just start out by introducing yourself and talking about your interests in the sciences and how you got involved?
Sure, yeah, thank you for having me. So I moved to North Carolina in 2014 to pursue a master's degree in biology at Western Carolina University. And before that, I had worked as an environmental educator out in the woods with kids, teaching them about plants and animals, forest ecology. So then after getting my master's degree, I did an AmeriCorps term with the Hemlock Restoration Initiative. And that's when I really got involved with hemlocks and hemlock woolly adelgia that's threatening them. And have been with HRI since then, got hired on after my AmeriCorps term.
And so we can kind of jump right into the sciences as well and what the organization you work with do. And so if I'm just not great at my botany and I'm walking in the woods, would I expect to see a hemlock in Western North Carolina? And what is their range and what would we look for as people in the woods if we want to identify a hemlock?
Sure, yeah. So Eastern and Carolina hemlocks both live in North Carolina. Those are two different species. And if you're walking through, on a hiking trail through a cove near a stream or a river, you are very likely to see Eastern hemlocks. They're an evergreen tree. They look a little bit like a fir, but there's some kind of distinct differences between them and firs. And they love the riparian areas near our mountain streams. If you're walking up on a ridge, you are more likely to see a Carolina hemlock, and they look a little different. If you're familiar with both the Eastern and Carolina, they look a little bit different, but they're pretty similar, but they like different habitats.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking for that, almost like the Christmas tree a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. The one distinct thing about hemlocks, though, is that the top of the hemlock actually kind of droops over. And so if you tried to hang a star on that Christmas tree, it would just fall right off.
Won't work.
And that's very characteristic of hemlocks, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. And we're going to take a quick break right here just to thank our sponsors.
The Amos Summer of Science series is brought to you by Thermo Fisher Scientific. Thermo Fisher is the world leader in serving science. Their mission is to enable customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Thermo Fisher Scientific, step up, step beyond. More information at thermofisher.com. And Hedrick Industries, standing for quality and commitment to service. hedrickind.com. And Baker Grading and Landscaping, changing the landscape while keeping with nature's flow. bakergrading.com. And Gillespie Dental Associates, attention to detail, attention to your personalized care for your unique needs. drtimgillespie.com. And member and donor support from people like you.
All right, and welcome back, everyone. For those of you just tuning in, we are meeting with Thom Green, who is the Outreach Associate for Western North Carolina Hemlock Restoration Initiative. And so, Thom, can you explain to our viewers why the hemlock restoration is so important and what do hemlocks do for us in our forests?
Sure, yeah, it's really important that folks understand the importance of hemlocks and their place in the ecosystem. Eastern hemlocks in particular are a foundation species, which means they lay the foundation for many things in the ecosystem, including water and water quality, biodiversity, food webs. Eastern hemlocks in particular along our streams are important for keeping stream temperatures cool, which supports trout and things that trout eat. And when you lose that shade from the hemlocks, then the stream temperatures start to rise and you lose that whole aquatic ecosystem that thrives in the cool temperatures. And then Carolina hemlocks are particularly special because they're endemic just to the southern Appalachians, mostly in North Carolina, and then a little bit in the surrounding states. So they are very threatened by the hemlock woolly adelgid because their populations are small and kind of scattered and just in this one part of the world.
So what is it that is threatening our hemlock success?
Yeah, so there's a very small bug called the hemlock woolly adelgid. It's an aphid relative, and it's not native to Eastern North America. It was introduced sometime in the early 20th century and was discovered in Richmond, Virginia in the 50s, and then has spread now through a good chunk of Eastern hemlock's range and pretty much all of the southern range of Eastern hemlock that goes all the way down into Georgia. Eastern hemlocks also stretch up into as far as Canada. And the hemlock woolly adelgid has been making the march further and further north and west. And it's in the whole range of the Carolina hemlock. And do you want me to talk a little bit about what the insect does to kill the tree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the insect, it's very small, but it can reproduce very quickly once it gets on a tree. And it essentially disrupts the water flow in the tree, causing the needles to drop, and eventually enough of the needles drop off the tree that it just can't survive anymore and it dies. And this can happen very quickly within, as few as 4 years in a tree that's very heavily infested. And then that can spread throughout a whole stand of hemlocks. And we've seen many areas where hemlock woolly adelgid has come in, especially in North Carolina, where most of the trees in a stand can just be wiped out by the insect.
And how do they travel? Do they travel pretty well and pretty quickly?
Actually, funny thing is they don't travel on their own very far, but when they hatch, the little crawlers are almost like dust particles. They can be carried by the wind, especially by birds, long distances, on any mammal that's brushing up against the tree. And then just, gravity falling to lower trees and lower branches. But they don't actually, the ones that can attach and reproduce on the tree don't actually fly. So they have to be either blown by the wind or carried by something.
And so is this considered a parasitic relationship?
Yeah, it's they're I guess technically herbivores, so they feed on the tree, but they're not a parasite in the traditional sense where the host will keep living and they'll keep feeding off the host. They are killing the host for sure.
Yeah, and HWA, the hemlock woolly adelgid, the bug that's affecting the trees and threatening them, does that affect both the eastern hemlock and the Carolina hemlock? Yeah,
it affects both species. Neither of those species have been shown to have any strong resistance in the wild. Whereas other areas where hemlocks live, so there's actually 10 species of hemlocks across the world, and everywhere except Eastern North America, hemlock woolly adelgid is native.
And so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right here, and we'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning in to the Amos Summer of Science series. I'm Rachel Sparks, board president for the Asheville Museum of Science. We're excited to share this series with friends and supporters. During the pandemic, it's important that we use digital technology to continue the mission of Amos to spark curiosity and a lifelong love of learning. Amos has shared online programs like our Daily Doses of Science and Ask the Scientist over 115,000 times, with over 3,000 science explorers during quarantine. The Summer of Science series will share important science curriculum, and I encourage your support of our programs. Temporarily closing the museum has had a significant impact on our services and our finances, so I'm asking for your support with a donation of $40. That can sponsor 25 online engagements in STEM learning. Some can give more and some less, and any amount you can give will be very helpful. Please go online to ashevillescience.org/support-us or text the number on your screen to donate. Thank you so much.
So welcome back, everybody. For those of you who are just joining us, we are with Thom Green, the Outreach Associate with the Western North Carolina Hemlock Restoration Initiative. And he is talking with us today about the hemlock woolly adelgid, an invasive bug species that is threatening our hemlock populations. And so we left off kind of talking about the lack of resistance that our eastern hemlocks have to this threat. And so what is being done by scientists to try and mitigate the problem?
Sure. So there's many strategies happening to combat the woolly adelgid, and we call that an integrated pest management approach. And one of those pieces is the genetic component, both conserving the genetics of the existing trees, but also finding out if we can breed some kind of either native resistance or create hybrids that can then be used for a large-scale forest restoration. So there's a group out of NC State called the Forest Restoration Alliance who are researching both of those pieces, so resistance in native trees, and then also hybridizing eastern and Carolina hemlocks with species typically from Asia that have an innate resistance in their genetics.
What other strategies are scientists using to try and approach this aside from genetic resistance?
Yeah, so the other components of integrated pest management include chemical control with pesticides and biological control, typically with predators of hemlock woolly adelgid. And then also researchers are looking at forest management or silvicultural techniques, seeing if they can manipulate the forest to reduce stress on the trees, and then combined with other strategies. So kind of the big area of research is mostly in biological control.
What downsides would biological control have? Is that something like to a lot of people, I think that provides an image in their head of just throwing out the predator into the wild and not really looking at what the repercussions of that introduction could be.
Yeah, that is definitely an important concern. And because of concerns with past issues with biological control, there is a long process that folks have to go through, that researchers have to go through, that's in the United States, that's governed by it's an agency under the USDA called APHIS, APHIS. And that process can take up to a decade. And so I like to say, or I kind of stole this from somebody else, if biological control is working, you don't hear about it. And that's because it's just blending in with the ecosystem, it's doing its job. It's those few cases where biocontrol has gone wrong that it's on the front page news.
So I go out into my lawn and I have my hemlock tree here and I see these little white polka dots lining the needles on my hemlock. What should I do?
So landowners can do a few things. If the infestation is still early, chemical protection is great. So you can individually treat trees in a way that minimizes impacts on the rest of the environment. It keeps those trees healthy. As the trees start to decline, you may need more aggressive treatments or more expensive treatments. And then if the trees decline too far, then chemical treatment just won't work.
Thom, are there any last kind of final thoughts you would like to share with everyone, or just leave them to think with?
Sure. I would just like to say we try and have a message of hope with the Hemlock Restoration Initiative. That there are things landowners can do. There are things being done on our state and federal lands to keep hemlocks alive and on the landscape. And we have lots of resources on our website, or you can call or email us if you are a landowner and don't know what to do to protect your hemlock trees. We want to help you out. So there is hope, we feel like, for the hemlocks.
Awesome. Well, Thom, thank you so much for volunteering your time with us. We are so thankful to have community partners like you who can help us spread education and science education specifically for everyone in the Western North Carolina region. So we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.